All right, the draft is over. We've gotten through free agency. Now it's the real offseason. So I think it's the perfect time to look at where these teams stack. And I'm going to just look at the NFC and rank these teams based on what tier I see them in. The first team is the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of changes this offseason. You get a healthy Kyler Murray, hopefully. That's a big hopefully. Marvin Harrison Jr. is that new number 1 pick with that first draft pick. I think that's a home run pick. I think that you had to make that choice to give Kyler a weapon. You got some help on the offensive line with Jonah Williams. You could have drafted a quarterback here, but I think it's the right decision. I do think that Kyler is still a good quarterback, so you bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. to give him that true number 1, but this is a tough division. You still got to go through San Francisco. I think the Rams are always a tough play. And Seattle is an iffy team this offseason. But San Francisco is kind of that cream of the crop team. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take Arizona, and I'm going to put them in to the B tier. I think that they're going to be better. I don't think they're a train wreck by any means, but it's going to take a few years for them to kind of get their footing. Next, we got the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of changes in Atlanta. They bring in Kirk Cousins. They make a really weird pick with Michael Penix Jr. I thought that was strange. It didn't make any sense to me at all. But at the end of the day, I think this is a solid team, an exciting team that can hopefully get the most out of all their assets. They still have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, all this offensive talent. And the play calling has got to be better. With Arthur Smith last season, it was terrible. I think we can all agree on that. Raheem Morris will add some juice to the offense, hopefully, and really get this team back on track. I would be excited if I were an Atlanta Falcons fan, and based on that excitement and where I can see this team potentially going, I'm going to have to give them an A. I think they're in a good spot to win the division, possibly in a weaker division in the NFC South, and I think that the Atlanta Falcons are a team that a lot of teams would want to be. So hopefully this new coaching staff can bring a lot more juice. Overall, that offense is explosive. Then we get to the Carolina Panthers. This is a team that was in desperation, dire need for some offensive firepower. They added Deontay Johnson, they added Leggett to help Adam Thielen, who outperformed what people thought he would do at this point of his career last season. But they still need more pieces. Dave Canales, former Buccaneers offensive coordinator, that's why I'm pretty familiar with Canales. He is the quarterback whisperer. He helped when Russell Wilson was his best, it was under Canales. When Geno Smith needed to be turned around, it was under Canales. Baker Mayfield last season, Canales once again. So this guy, can he change Bryce Young? I think that's the real question. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bryce Young with more offensive talent, along with the brand new coach Canales, really take a step up. But I still have to go based on what I think they're going to do. And I'm taking Carolina, and I'm putting them in the C category. I see them being better, but I don't know how much better. Maybe in 2025, they'll take that bigger leap forward. At least for Carolina, you got to hope so. Next on the list are the Chicago Bears, and I am 100% on the bandwagon of the Chicago Bears this season. I think getting Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, some offensive line help. This team is built to just start going quick. I mean, we saw the Texans last year. They had not nearly this much hype going into the season. They killed it. They did a great job. The Bears are the most exciting team this offseason, the team that everybody wants to watch, the team that everybody wants to see the primetime games of. And in my lifetime, I can't remember the Bears being that team. I know that they're in a tough division with Detroit and with Green Bay especially. At the end of the day, I think Detroit's going to win the division. We'll talk about them in a little bit. And I have Chicago battling for the division with Detroit and maybe being a top wildcard team that really pulls it through. So based on that, and just based on that, I'm going to throw Chicago, and I'm putting them into A territory. I think that they're a team to watch out for. They're a team that all the hype is going towards, and I think it's well-deserved. It might start slow with a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams, but I think that'll pick up fairly quickly with the amount of talent on that roster. Next on the list, the Dallas Cowboys. This is a tough team. The team has continually done very well, but at the end of the day, they've lost a few pieces, and they're just not as exciting as they've been in the past, really. I feel like people have kind of figured them out in a sense. They're going to be a good team, but crumble at the end of the season and in the playoffs. We've seen it every year. They brought Zeke Elliott back. That's probably a negative, honestly, because they lost Tony Pollard. So at the end of the day, Dallas is Dallas. They're fine. They're America's team, I guess. But I'm not going to trash them completely because I still think that they're going to be a good team. But I'm going to have to go here, and I'm going to give them that B tier. I'm going to put them above the Cardinals. Now, we talked about America's team with the Cowboys. Now, I think this is truly America's team these past few years, and it's the Detroit Lions. We're talking about the top of the conference. Everybody was rooting for the Lions because they've been bad for so long, and if it weren't for a few Josh Reynolds drops and a couple other things in that NFC Championship game, they would have been a Super Bowl team. Now, they have had some losses. Cam Sutton and CJ Gardner-Johnson are gone. Jonah Jackson. They've had some big gains as well. They've reworked their entire defensive backfield with Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, and first-round pick Terrion Arnold. They've added a lot of juice. And at this point in time, you think, okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell signed big contracts, so they'll be there for a while. Everybody's just vibing in Detroit right now. The only thing I'm waiting for really is, where's Jameson Williams? Can he actually be a factor? I think that Detroit is going to be that tier above, and they're in that top 5 teams that can make a Super Bowl this season in my mind. So, Detroit Lions, I'm going to take them, and I'm putting them up right here. I'm taking them to S tier. I think they're in that elite category, and they've done it slowly but surely. And I think Goff has shown that he can take a team to the Super Bowl, and I believe he can actually win it. They're right there. They're a team that is right there ready to play. All right, next we have the Green Bay Packers. Now, a lot of people are hyped on the Packers. Jordan Love showed a lot last season. He started slow and then really ramped up and was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Is he going to keep that up? I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I still want to see more, but he did great, so I don't want to discount him. I think he is an up-and-comer. Aaron Jones is gone. You get Josh Jacobs. To me, that's a wash. I don't see that as a big upgrade by any means. Not a lot of sexiness in terms of additions to the team. They go offensive line in the first round, which is good because you want to build that foundation for Jordan Love. But at the end of the day, Jordan Love and all these young receivers and weapons really started low and are working up. So this is a team that I think could take a big step up or could take a big step down. They're right in that middle and in a tough division, like I mentioned, with Chicago, the Vikings, and of course Detroit. I'm going to put them in the B category, and I'm going to put them right above here. So I am actually kind of trying to get these in general order as well. Speaking of good and not great, let's talk about the LA Rams. They had the biggest loss of any team this offseason with Aaron Donald retiring, but at the end of the day, they got some talent with Jared Verse in the first round to add some pieces to that defensive line because you are losing Aaron Donald. How healthy is Stafford? How healthy is Cooper Kupp? Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams were the bells of the ball in fantasy football last season. Getting both of those guys as later round picks was huge for the Rams. So are they going to hit again? Are they just on a roll with drafting? I don't know. But at the end of the day, they're in a tough division with the San Francisco 49ers. Again, that's a battle that's really hard to win. I see them more of as a wild card type team. I'll take the Rams right here, and I'll put them in that B category. I put them right below the Packers, where they're still a fun team, but at the end of the day, they're not in that Super Bowl category, at least in my opinion. Next on the list, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is a unique team because they have a lot of talent, but at the end of the day, they got rid of Kirk Cousins because he couldn't get him over the hump. They go with J.J. McCarthy, the winner, the national championship winner. Mixed analysis from teams, but there's a lot of adds, a lot of subtractions on this team. At the end of the day, I think Aaron Jones is an upgrade for them at running back. That was a big upgrade. You get Justin Jefferson back, a healthy Justin Jefferson, and you build something in there. They're just, again, in a tough division. On that bottom tier of that division, they might even be last based on all the updates that have had this offseason. I still have them as a B tier team. I'm going to put them right below the Rams. It all depends on J.J. McCarthy. Right now, B tier, maybe next season A tier, but again, kind of an iffy team with the Minnesota Vikings. The New Orleans Saints, I don't know. They just kind of feel like a team kind of floating by. Feels like a team in a weird transitional space. I just don't believe in the Saints that much right now. They still have some talent here and there, but it seems like everybody's getting older. They missed their opportunity in their Drew Brees era. I feel like that ended, and now they're kind of stuck with a lot of this cap situation, a lot of issues there, and there's just not that much fire. There's not that much excitement with the New Orleans Saints. So based on that, I have them as a C-tier team. I don't have them really competing much at all this season, and I'll put them, I think they'll be better than Carolina, but not by much. They're just not a fun team. They're not a team that I'm going to look forward to on Red Zone or anything like that. They're just there. Speaking of teams that are not that fun, let's talk about the New York Giants. Daniel Jones is there. They lost Saquon Barkley. They did add Brian Burns, which I think was a nice add, as well as John Runyon on the offensive line. But the biggest, most excitement they did is add Malik Neighbors, add a piece that Daniel Jones could be really excited about. Other than Neighbors, I'm not super excited about him, especially after you losing Saquon. I'm going to throw them. This will be my first D tier. I'm not feeling New York Giants right now. At least with Carolina, I have a little more excitement because Bryce Young is so young. But Daniel Jones has been around for a while. I'm not feeling it. Prove me wrong, Giants. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are a good team. They fizzled at the end of last season, losing to the Buccaneers. But the Eagles are still a great team, and everybody just kind of loves what the front office does, no matter what they do. So they add Saquon Barkley. That's a huge positive. They do lose Kelsey on the interior line, but they added some more pieces on the interior line. They added some pieces on defense, and that's really where they got the biggest help. I mean, Devin White, Bryce Huff, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Then they go in the draft Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So they are just hitting heavy on that cornerback position, and everybody just thinks because they go to the Eagles, they're going to be great. And that usually is true, but let's not forget that Jalen Reagor was drafted over Justin Jefferson by the Eagles. So they're not 100%. They're not hitting on some crazy cap. They do a good job, and I think people are excited to see them with this brand new defense. That's where they needed most of the help, but they also need to make sure that Jalen Hurts plays much better than last year. You hope that getting Saquon Barkley helps that, but at the end of the day, he was so much worse that we just need to make sure he's healthy and playing well. Then the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender automatically. But based on Hurts not being as good last season, I'm just throwing him in this A category. I'll put him towards the top of the A category because I think this team has been kind of reworked and revamped. I can't put him in the S category based on the way things ended at the end of last season. Before I rank the last few teams, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, or if you think your team should be ranked a little bit higher, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. All right, let's talk about another team that's kind of the cream of the crop. Let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. There was all this talk about Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel getting moved. They're both still there. Now they add Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk's former teammate, into that fold. And we're talking about Ricky Pearsall. He's going to be the fifth option in the passing game. That's a big benefit to the team. That means there's just options all over the place. Can Purdy just keep dealing and wheeling? They got Leonard Floyd on the defense, lost Chase Young. I think that's a net positive for them. And we're always talking about the 49ers and their play calling and their system and their drafting. And they are the elite team in the NFC, in my opinion, and they deserve all the props in the world. But they got to stop coming up short. They're just a better version of the Bills in a sense that they at least make the Super Bowl. But if we get through this era and the Bills don't win a Super Bowl and the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl, we're going to be looking at those teams like, how do you not get one? I understand Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but you got to get one. And with the Bills, you got to at least make it there. But San Francisco, come on. You've had way too many chances. You've blown way too many leads. So San Francisco, I'm putting you in that S tier in the NFC, right at the top. You're right at the top. You took out Detroit. You're right at the top. But you got to take care of business, San Francisco. Let's see it. The Seattle Seahawks, no more Pete Carroll. Not a huge amount of changes, but you get some offensive line help. You get a defensive tackle in Byron Murphy in the first round that was supposed to be like one of the most explosive guys in the draft. So that's exciting. But other than that, you're kind of in this awkward space where you're not an elite team really, but you're not a bad team. Jackson Smith-Njigba, is he going to be a star? We kept hearing how great he is, but we haven't seen him take that leap yet. Seattle, I'm kind of teetering here. I don't know. They just feel like a C-level team to me. Maybe a C+, if that makes you feel a little better, but I'm just not too excited about where that team is going. Next, this is my biased opinion alert because I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. So if you think I'm going to come here trash them, I am the fan that will if they suck. I actually really like what Tampa Bay Buccaneers did this season. Signed Baker to a reasonable deal where you can get rid of him in the future. They got to keep Mike Evans. They keep Levante David. They kept the guys that they wanted to keep while losing a couple guys like a Devin White or a Carlton Davis who are good players but are not elite players in my opinion. So they kept the guys that really keep that core together. They lost Jensen, he retired, but then they replaced him with Graham Barton, one of the highest rated interior offensive linemen we've seen in a few years. Then you got Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, some offensive pieces to add in. And this young defense looked really good last season. They took care of the Eagles in the playoffs. Baker was better than they ever thought he would be. I'm excited to have the Bucs in a good position as a good, not great team, but a good competitive team. I'm going to put them, I'm not going to go too high. I'm not crazy. I'll put them in that B category, and I'm going to put them I'm putting right above Green Bay. I think they're going to be better than Green Bay. I think they're going to be a good team, like a legitimately good team that can win a playoff game or two. So, and then last on the list, the Washington Commanders. So there's some teams on here that I'm kind of tired of. I don't know. This is the team that could go from a C to a B plus fairly quickly with Jaden Daniels. I think that is 100% what is it going to be. Is he going to have a year like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or somewhere kind of in between? That's a wait and see. I do like the Austin Eckler ad. You get some veteran status there. He kind of looked a little washed last season, but I think he's going to bounce back, so I feel good about that. Zach Ertz, one of the most underrated tight ends we've had this generation. I think he's always a good weapon. And you add some defensive pieces, Dante Fowler, Bobby Wagner. You have these veteran guys that will hopefully kind of stabilize what's been happening in Washington. Jahan Dotson, can he take a step up and be a true number 2 receiver? That's a wait and see in my mind. But at least Washington has something to be excited about, something that they can really get behind with a new rookie quarterback. I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to put them right at the bottom of the C category. They're in the wait and see approach. They're the team that can jump up the highest based on the rankings. They could go higher than a lot of these other teams, but right now it's wait and see. I don't think there's enough talent on that roster on defense or offense to really justify putting them any higher on this list. All right, so that's it for the NFC. Thank you guys for watching, and if you want to see my breakdown of the AFC, check out this video right here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.